They say love makes you do crazy things, so hatred makes someone positively insane. Case in point, Lex Luthor. Number 5, baby trapping Superman. We're starting off strong, and this one is at the top because it doesn't feel that insane anymore because I've gotten used to it. Connor Kent's origin story is still one of the strangest in DC history, and you have to admire that when you take into consideration everyone he's up against. Lex deciding to mix his DNA with Clark Kent's to create Connor and essentially baby trap Superman is something that only Lex Luthor could come up with. Like, I don't even think the Joker would go there. In fact, the only other case that I can think of off the top of my head is like Talia with Bruce, but even then it depends on the writer for whether or not that was intentional. They say there's a thin line between love and hate, and Lex Luthor is a trapeze artist. I can't wait for James Gunn to bring Connor Kent to the big screen because I know that James Gunn is not going to change anything about his backstory, and casual audiences are just going to lose their minds. 4. Adventure Comics Volume 2, Issue 6. Lex Luthor will do anything to maintain his power, or like the illusion that he has it, and that includes hurting his own family. In this issue, Lex's sister is sick, and Superboy is going through the crisis of wanting to be like his dad, Superman, and not like his other evil dad, Lex Luthor. Lex essentially goes on his like usual monologue about how Superman holds him back from doing good and miracles and solving world hunger, whatever. Superboy essentially says, well, Superman's off-world right now, so do something nice, and Lex is like, okay. So Luthor decides to cure his sister's disease, potentially cancer, and then he reinfects her after. He sent Superboy on this huge quest to go get all these ingredients, caused a family reunion, cured an incurable disease, just to take it all back simply to prove that he could. I wish I was lying, but when Superboy was like, Lex, why did you do that? He said, Lex giveth and Lex taketh away, which is deranged. He is deranged. So I would love it if he would stop talking in third person like he is God and just simply get a grip. 3. The daycare incident. Lex Luthor Man of Steel was a wild ride, but the most famous incident has to be Lex hiring Toyman to detonate a daycare. Technically, it was a jeweler's that Toyman actually blew up, but it was in the same building as this daycare, and the care center was like the actual target in the plan. It was part of this big plan that Lex had where he was trying to sway public opinion against Superman. To add more to this equation, Toyman was on a registered list of people that really shouldn't be around young people. 2. Project Blackout. This is recent actually, like 2023. Context, Superman had revealed his identity to the world at this point, and Lex is mad at him. Lex comes up with Project Blackout. So he's going to take Manchester Black and completely drain his powers, eliminating him in the pursuit of hurting Superman. Using Manchester Black's powers, Lex makes everyone in the world forget his identity reveal, and if they find out again, they would have an aneurysm and fall into a coma. We know this because Perry White is in a coma for this reason. The only people not affected by this was Clark's family because they were all on the Kent farm before Perry showed up having dinner, and the superheroes because they had previously placed mental defenses from Martian Manhunter. But still, like, Clark has to keep his identity locked down out of fear for harming the rest of the world. And now Luthor can just hold that over his head like, if you don't do what I want, I will tweet your secret identity and decimate the Earth's population. In the end, him and his son John learn to enjoy living the anonymous life again. We do have an honorable mention because I love this. Lex stealing 40 cakes, which is as many as 4 tens, and that's terrible. Coming from a DC children's book teaching counting, this panel of Lex Luthor teaching the number 40 by stealing 40 cakes went viral and became a meme. It later became actual canon though in Superman 709 when Lex got detention for stealing the 40 cakes from the school bake sale as revenge against his school. Number 1, dooming the entire universe. Okay, like he didn't actually like doom anything, but he did have the power to essentially fix everything negative and make the universe paradise. The problem was he couldn't hurt Superman anymore, which is not a deal that Lex Luthor is ever willing to take. Okay, so basically after this long run, a being of absolute power gave his powers to Lex Luthor. The only condition was they couldn't be used for anything negative, and if he did, then he would lose them. So in exchange for the entire universe living in a state of bliss, Lex had to stop trying to maim Superman, and that was asking too much of him. Lex decided it would be better to use his new powers to destroy Superman once and for all, or at least try until the powers ran out. In the end, Luthor lost lost his memories and also released 3 Doomsdays as a failsafe, which is just so special. Is evil born or is it made? Today we are going to try and answer that question by counting down some of the X-Men's darkest villains and what happened to make them the way that they are. Hot off the press at number 10, we have a clone of Nathaniel Essex, one of the X-Men's most enduring and sinister foes. So sinister, he had no choice but to become Mr. Sinister. Originally a brilliant Victorian-era scientist obsessed with evolution and genetic perfection, Essex's descent into villainy began after his wife, Rebecca, passed on, cursing him as sinister upon discovering all of his unethical experiments. Transformed and empowered by the ancient mutant apocalypse, Essex adopted the name Mr. Sinister and dedicated his life to manipulating mutant kind, most infamously through cloning, genetic experimentation, and psychological manipulation. Among his darkest acts is orchestrating the ending of the Morlocks, a peaceful underground mutant community, one of the X-Men's worst tragedies. Sinister's cruelty extended to manipulating Cyclops' life, kidnapping his son, Nathan Summers, later Cable, and erasing the existence of Madeline Pryor, a clone that he created, leading to the catastrophic Inferno event. In the modern Krakoan era, Sinister reached new lows by corrupting the mutant resurrection process, secretly implanting his own control over resurrected mutants, and attempting to seize control of mutant society, demonstrating his relentless ambition and utter disregard for life. Up next, at number 9, we have Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth. Sabretooth is one of Marvel's most notorious villains, infamous for his brutality and deep-seated rivalry with Wolverine. Born in the late 19th century, Creed's early life was marked by harm and violence and just like really horrible parenting. Sabretooth's origin is further complicated by memory tampering from shadowy organizations like Weapon X, making much of his past just unreliable. His darkest moments are numerous and chilling. He ended Silver Fox, which was Wolverine's lover, and then manipulated an angry Wolverine and grieving Wolverine into ending like an entire town of people. As a merc, Creed became known as the Slasher, ending indiscriminately for pleasure and sport. His cruelty extended to those close to him, and every year he would surprise Wolverine, no matter where he was in the world, for his birthday and just do something evil and diabolical. Silver Fox being the first of the many. Sabretooth's legacy is defined by his relentless savagery, psychological torment of Wolverine, and a history of betrayal and personal tragedy that cements his place among the X-Men's evilest villains. At spot number 8 is the diva that audiences were introduced to last year in Deadpool and Wolverine, Cassandra Nova. She made her big screen debut almost a year ago, but she has been causing problems since her 2001 debut in the comics. Cassandra Nova is one of the X-Men's most chilling villains, born as the Mumadrai, a parasitic psychic entity, at the very moment that Charles Xavier was conceived. She is, in essence, Xavier's dark twin, created from the same genetic material but embodying pretty much everything that he opposes. Even before birth, Cassandra's evil presence was so overwhelming that it triggered Charles's powers to try and eliminate the threat. Surviving this, she spent years reconstructing her body and plotting revenge. Later in life, Cassandra ended up orchestrating the use of Sentinels to end over 16 million mutants, an act of pure, calculated evil that proved that she is one of the most ruthless adversaries the X-Men have ever faced. Her combination of immense psychic power, deep-seated hatred, and utter lack of empathy makes Cassandra Nova a terrifying force. I think it's safe to say that in her case, evil can be born. At number 7 today, we have Madeline Pryor, one of Marvel's most tragic and complex villains. Created by the villain Mr. Sinister as a clone of Jean Grey, Madeline was engineered using Jean's genetic material and implanted with false memories, her entire existence designed to manipulate Cyclops, Scott Summers, into falling in love with her and fathering a child, Nathan Summers, later known as Cable, whose genetic potential Sinister coveted. Initially unaware of her origins, Madeline lived a pretty normal life, marrying Scott and starting their family. However, her world fell apart when Jean Grey returned, leading Scott to abandon Madeline and Nathan, which began her descent into darkness. The revelation of her true nature as a clone and a pawn shattered Madeline. Demonic forces exploited her pain and resentment and awakened latent psychic powers and transformed her into the Goblin Queen. In her darkest moment, Madeline struck a deal with demons to open a portal to Limbo, unleashing a demonic invasion on New York City. She attempted to sacrifice her own family, along with others, to cement her power to keep the portal open, children, but was ultimately stopped by the X-Men. Coming in at number 6, we have Donald Pierce. Donald Pierce is a notorious supervillain, best known as a cyborg and relentless enemy of the X-Men. Born into immense wealth, Pierce inherited his family's fortune and industrial empire, which opened the doors for him to join the elite Hellfire Club, where he rose to the rank of White Bishop. Despite his high standing, Pierce harbored a deep-seated hatred for mutants, joining the Hellfire Club not for power or prestige, but with the secret goal of exterminating its mutant members. His transformation into a cyborg began after a brutal defeat at the hands of Cable, which left him grievously injured and dependent on advanced prosthetics, fueling his self-loathing and further intensifying his anti-mutant crusade. Pierce helped create and lead the Reavers, an army of cybernetically enhanced criminals whose sole purpose was the eradication of mutants. Under his command, the Reavers captured Wolverine, torturing him before Jubilee intervened to save that hero. Even after apparent deaths and defeats, Pierce repeatedly resurfaced, orchestrating evil actions and mass endings, cementing his legacy as one of the X-Men's most relentless and ruthless foes. At our halfway point, we have Selene. Selene, known as the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club, is one of Marvel's oldest and most powerful mutants, with an origin stretching back literally thousands of years. Born to a tribe that recognized her unique powers, Selene's mother passed at her birth, and the elders commanded the tribe to sacrifice themselves to the little Selene, allowing her to feed on their life force and become their sole survivor. Over the millennia, Selene has wandered the world, using her psychic vampirism to sustain her immortality, and has been responsible for countless atrocities, including commanding an entire city by force, entire cities such as Nova Roma, triggering the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and orchestrating wars for her own gain. Among her most notorious acts is the Necrotia event, where she resurrected millions of deceased mutants from Genosha, absorbing their souls to ascend to godhood and waging a war against the X-Men with her undead army. Selene's legacy is defined by her insatiable hunger for souls, manipulation of powerful organizations like the Hellfire Club, and a body count that ranks among the highest in X-Men history. In spot 4, we have Dark Phoenix. Not Jean Grey as like a whole person, specifically we're talking Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix is the villainous form of Jean Grey, a powerful mutant who becomes host to the cosmic Phoenix Force, a vast nexus of energy. Jean's psyche is twisted and she transforms into Dark Phoenix, a destructive and uncontrollable entity. One of her darkest moments, and perhaps the most infamous, is when Dark Phoenix consumes an entire star to replenish her power, causing a supernova that destroys the Debari planet and annihilates their entire alien race. This act marked a turning point in her story, leading to her eventual sacrifice. Overwhelmed by the destruction that she caused and the threat that she poses, Jean chooses to save the universe from further harm. Dark Phoenix remains one of the most tragic and complex villains in the X-Men saga, embodying the struggle between immense power and the loss of self-control. Getting into our top 3 today, we have Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw is one of the X-Men's most dangerous foes. A traumatic event triggered the manifestation of Sebastian's mutant ability, the power to absorb kinetic energy and convert it into superhuman strength. Driven by ambition and intellect, Shaw quickly rose from humble beginnings, getting rich through his company Shaw Industries, which specialized in defense contracts and munitions. His wealth and influence led to his recruitment into the secretive Hellfire Club, where he ultimately seized control as the ruthless Black King, manipulating both mutants and humans to achieve that goal. He was instrumental in funding and advancing the Sentinel program, designed to hunt and end mutants, using his position to control and weaponize anti-mutant sentiment for his own ends. His ambition led him to betray and end rivals within the Hellfire Club. Despite frequent defeats and betrayals on his part, Shaw remains a symbol of ruthless ambition, manipulation, and the dark potential of unchecked power within the Marvel Universe. But today's runner-up is none other than William Stryker. Stryker is driven by a fanatical hatred of mutants that stems from a deeply personal and tragic origin. Stryker's life took a dark turn when his wife gave birth to a mutant son. Horrified by his child's nature, Stryker ended both the wife and son, then attempted to end himself but survived, and interpreted that as a sign that he was chosen by God to wage war against mutants. Okay, this conviction led him to become a charismatic televangelist and the founder of the Purifiers, a parliamentary group dedicated to mutant ending. He orchestrated the abduction and brainwashing of Professor Xavier, aiming to use his telepathic powers to exterminate all mutants, a plan that forced the X-Men to ally with their enemy at the time, Magneto, to stop him. He also attempted to publicly end Kitty Pryde on live TV, only to be stopped by law enforcement. Over the years, Stryker escalated. He was resurrected as a cyborg, led new incarnations incarnations of Weapon X and oversaw a horrific experience to create mutant-ending cyborgs and even Hulk mutant hybrids. Despite his evolving methods and occasional brushes with the supernatural and technological, Stryker remains defined by his relentless intolerance. And finally, in the top spot today is Magneto. Max Eisenhart, better known as Magneto, is one of Marvel's most complex and truly tragic villains. Born to a Jewish family in Germany in the 1920s, Max's early life was marked by the horrors of the Big Event during World War II. His family was captured by the evil army and sent to the camps, where Max witnessed the ending of his loved ones and was forced to assist his captors in operating the camp's machinery, a trauma that caused the emergence of his mutant powers. After the war, he adopted the name Eric Lehnsherr and tried to build a new life, but tragedy struck again when his daughter Anya passed in a fire caused by an anti-mutant mob, an event that pushed him over the edge, and in a fit of rage, Max unleashed his powers, ending those responsible and cementing his path as Magneto, the self-declared protector of mutant kind willing to use any means necessary. His darkest moments include founding the Brotherhood of Mutants to wage war against humanity, acts of mass violence, and a willingness to sacrifice innocents for his cause, all fueled by the conviction that mutants must dominate to avoid the persecution he once suffered. Magneto's story is defined by loss, vengeance, and the enduring scars of his past, making him a villain whose actions are inseparable from the pain and injustice of his origins.
In 2024, DC Comics introduced a radical reimagining of its iconic universe with the launch of the Absolute Universe, an imprint overseen by writer Scott Snyder. This new continuity, designated as Earth Alpha, operates within the broader DC multiverse and presents modernized versions of beloved heroes within a reality shaped by the malevolent influence of Darkseid. Unlike the primary DC universe, which is often seen as being influenced by Superman's hopeful energy, the Absolute Universe is steeped in challenge and turmoil, where even the most powerful heroes find themselves as underdogs in a world tilted towards darkness. Within this altered landscape emerges the Absolute Joker, a chillingly distinct iteration of the Clown Prince of Crime. This version is not defined by manic laughter or a history intrinsically tied to Batman's creation. Instead, he is a billionaire industrialist who has never been heard to laugh, earning him the sardonic moniker. His power stems from unimaginable wealth and a worldly training that has honed him into a formidable force, inverting the traditional power dynamic with a Batman who lacks the familiar Wayne fortune. Furthermore, the Absolute Joker has already established himself as a psychopathic supervillain, operating with a strategic mind and engaging in acts of profound depravity such as the horrifying consumption of infant life force. This report delves into the 10 paramount reasons why the Absolute Joker stands as the ultimate villain within the Absolute Batman universe, a figure whose unique characteristics and terrifying methods perfectly embody the dark and inverted nature of this reality. The dynamic between Batman and his rogues gallery has long been defined by the concept of duality, with many of his adversaries serving as dark reflections of the Caped Crusader himself. The relationship between Batman and the Joker, in particular, has often been portrayed as a twisted form of yin and yang, where their contrasting moral codes and motivations are intrinsically linked. Numerous interpretations have even explored the notion that the Joker and Batman are two sides of the same coin, separated only by a single bad day. In the Absolute Universe, this mirroring takes a fascinating and inverted turn. The Absolute Batman is not the billionaire heir familiar to most. Instead, he is a working-class hero, a product of Gotham's harsh streets. Growing up in the notorious crime alley, Bruce Wayne in this reality never knew the privilege of the Wayne fortune. His father, a high school teacher, tragically fell victim to a mass shooting, leaving a young Bruce without the traditional support system. This Batman is defined by his resourcefulness and a practical, engineering-oriented mind, focused on enacting societal change through his actions. His heroism is born not of inherited wealth, but of a deep-seated desire to improve the city he calls home. Conversely, the Absolute Joker stands as a towering figure of immense wealth, a billionaire industrialist whose influence stretches across the globe. Ranking among the wealthiest individuals on the planet, his financial power dwarfs even the most extravagant depictions of the traditional Joker's resources. This stark reversal of their economic statuses immediately establishes a compelling dichotomy, where the Joker now occupies the position of power and influence that Batman traditionally holds. This inversion leads to the intriguing concept of the Absolute Joker as a twisted Bruce Wayne. He represents a potential dark path for Bruce, a vision of what he could have become if he had succumbed to the allure of wealth and control rather than dedicating himself to justice. The absolute Joker embodies the corrupting potential of unchecked power, using his vast fortune to fuel unimaginable cruelty, standing in stark opposition to the working-class hero striving to save Gotham. This evil twin dynamic adds a profound personal and philosophical layer to their inevitable conflict, making the absolute Joker a uniquely compelling and ultimate villain within this inverted reality. In the absolute universe, the Joker's power is not rooted in madness or anarchy, but in a staggering level of wealth, positioning him as one of the most affluent individuals on the planet. Ranking within the top 0.005% of the world's richest, his fortune eclipses even the vast resources occasionally attributed to the traditional Joker. This unprecedented financial might grants him an unparalleled level of influence and reach. His ownership of a semiconductor manufacturing plant, a global enterprise akin to Philips, serves as a tangible symbol of his immense fortune and legitimate business dealings, providing a veneer of respectability that further complicates any attempts to dismantle his operations. This extraordinary wealth allows the absolute Joker to operate on a truly global scale, exerting influence far beyond the confines of Gotham City. His brief appearance at the end of Absolute Batman #1 depicts him overseeing his distant manufacturing plant, highlighting his ability to manage vast enterprises across continents. This global reach extends to his clandestine activities within Gotham, where he secretly funds and orchestrates the chaos unleashed by gangs like the Party Animals, demonstrating his capacity to manipulate events from afar without directly involving himself. This ability to orchestrate destruction on a grand scale, coupled with his legitimate business empire, makes him a far more systemic and challenging threat than the traditional Joker. Furthermore, his immense wealth presents a significant obstacle to the absolute Batman, potentially allowing him to buy his way out of anything. Unlike the traditional dynamic where Batman's financial resources often provide him with an edge, the absolute Joker's fortune could enable him to evade legal repercussions, fund sophisticated defenses, and generally operate with a level of impunity that his traditional counterpart never possessed. This forces the less affluent absolute Batman to rely on his intellect, physical prowess, and the loyalty of his allies, creating a compelling underdog narrative where ingenuity must triumph over overwhelming financial power. The contrast with the traditional Joker, whose resources typically derive from criminal activities and are often fleeting and unstable, further underscores the unique challenge posed by the absolute Joker's seemingly limitless wealth. A defining characteristic that immediately distinguishes the absolute Joker from his myriad counterparts is his complete and utter silence. He never laughs. This deliberate departure from the traditional Joker's maniacal laughter, a sound synonymous with chaos and terror, establishes the absolute Joker as a fundamentally different kind of menace. His lack of mirth is so pronounced that it has ironically earned him the moniker the Joker, a sarcastic acknowledgement of his sinister nature despite the absence of his trademark joviality. This silence speaks volumes about his psychological state and the nature of his villainy. The absence of laughter contributes to a chillingly different kind of terror, a cold, calculated, and arguably more unsettling presence. It suggests a level of control and deliberate intent that is perhaps more disturbing than the traditional Joker's often impulsive and theatrical outbursts. Without the outward expression of manic glee, the absolute Joker's actions take on a more sinister and purposeful quality. His silence might indicate a profound lack of empathy, a complete absence of joy, even in inflicting suffering, making him seem less human and more akin to an inexorable force of nature. This stands in stark contrast to the traditional Joker, whose maniacal laughter has become an iconic element of his persona. This laughter often accompanies his violent acts, serving as a disturbing punctuation mark to his madness and a chilling reminder of his warped sense of humor. While unsettling, this laughter also carries an element of theatricality, a performative aspect to his insanity. The absolute Joker's silence, however, implies a deeper, perhaps even sociopathic detachment. His terror is not broadcast through unsettling sounds, but emanates from his cold, unwavering demeanor and the horrifying implications of his calculated actions. This silent menace can be perceived as even more terrifying, hinting at a level of profound and unwavering evil that lies beneath the surface. The absolute Joker distinguishes himself not only through his immense wealth and chilling silence, but also through his more strategic and indirect approach to villainy. villainy. Unlike the traditional Joker, who often takes center stage in his chaotic schemes, the absolute Joker appears to operate from behind the scenes, subtly influencing events and orchestrating chaos through other villains. He has yet to directly unleash widespread mayhem upon Gotham, seemingly preferring to allow other malevolent forces to pave the way for his ultimate plans. This suggests a calculated and patient approach, prioritizing long-term objectives over the immediate, impulsive acts of chaos that often characterize his traditional counterpart. His connection to Black Mask and the party animals in the initial story arc of Absolute Batman provides a clear example of this manipulative strategy. The Absolute Joker secretly funds this gang of anarchists, utilizing their destructive tendencies to sow discord and weaken Gotham's foundations. Black Mask's own nihilistic ideology and desire to see the city consumed by chaos align with the Joker's potential long-term goals, making him a useful pawn in a larger game. This demonstrates the Absolute Joker's ability to leverage other villains, exploiting their motivations and resources to further his own agenda without exposing himself directly, showcasing a higher level of strategic thinking than often seen in the traditional Joker. Furthermore, the chilling conclusion of the first arc sees the Absolute Joker commanding his manservant to summon Bane. This action strongly suggests a long-term plan involving a hierarchy of villains under his influence. Bane, with his formidable physical prowess and history of breaking Batman, represents a significant future threat that the Absolute Joker is strategically positioning. This indicates a grander scheme beyond the initial chaos orchestrated by the party animals, hinting at a more complex and dangerous plan for Gotham's future that involves the calculated deployment of various villainous elements. This contrasts sharply with the traditional Joker, who often prefers to work alone or engages in more direct and impulsive acts of chaos. While the traditional Joker has formed alliances, they are typically short-lived and prone to betrayal, driven by his own unpredictable nature and immediate desires. The Absolute Joker's more strategic and indirect manipulation of other villains marks a significant departure and elevates his status as an ultimate manipulator within this universe. Perhaps the most profoundly disturbing aspect of the Absolute Joker, and a key reason for his ultimate villain status, is the horrifying method he employs to sustain himself, revealed in the chilling conclusion of Absolute Batman number 6. This iteration of the Clown Prince of Crime is depicted as withered and cadaverous, his vitality seemingly dependent on the gruesome act of draining the life force from the infants. The imagery of babies attached to him, their life essence flowing into his own decrepit form, is described as the most sickening yet and absolutely demented, establishing a new benchmark for cruelty even within the Joker's already infamous history. This act transcends the typical violence and mayhem associated with the Joker, venturing into a realm of deeply unsettling and unnatural depravity. It establishes him as a villain, willing to exploit the most innocent and vulnerable beings for his own selfish gain, a level of monstrousness that is difficult to fathom. The motivation behind this horrifying act appears to be purely self-serving, to restore his own fading vitality and prolong his existence. This pursuit of self-preservation at the cost of innocent lives underscores a profound lack of empathy and a chilling disregard for any semblance of morality, even by the Joker's standards. This motivation, devoid of any ideological justification or even a twisted sense of humor, is terrifying in its stark and selfish simplicity. This method of sustaining himself stands in stark contrast to the traditional Joker's crimes, which, while often heinous and causing mass suffering, rarely involve such a direct and personal act of life draining. While the traditional Joker has engaged in countless acts of murder, torture, and psychological torment, the systematic exploitation and consumption of infant life force for personal rejuvenation represents a uniquely disturbing form of cruelty not typically associated with the character. Even his most infamous acts, such as the murder of Jason Todd or the paralysis of Barbara Gordon, while undeniably horrific, stem from different motivations and employ different methods. This stark departure highlights the uniquely monstrous nature of the absolute Joker's methods, solidifying his position as an ultimate villain who redefines the very concept of cruelty within the Absolute Batman universe. In the Absolute Universe, the dynamic between Batman and the Joker is further amplified by their diametrically opposed philosophies and goals. The absolute Batman is portrayed as a more idealistic and grounded hero, driven by a desire to enact meaningful societal change within Gotham. He is depicted as a young man determined to rise above the challenges of his working-class background, using his ingenuity and physical prowess to combat the corruption that plagues the city. This Batman sees himself as a force for positive change, striving to build a better Gotham for its citizens. His core motivation is rooted in hope and a belief in the potential for improvement, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. Conversely, the traditional Joker is often characterized by a deeply nihilistic philosophy, believing in the inherent chaos and meaninglessness of existence. He views morality as a flimsy construct, a bad joke that crumbles under pressure, and believes that humanity is only ever one bad day away from descending into madness. His actions are frequently driven by a desire to expose this perceived truth, to introduce anarchy and upset the established order, pushing individuals to their breaking points to prove his cynical worldview. The absolute Joker, potentially an evil Bruce Wayne figure, might embody a different facet of nihilism, one born not from societal rejection, but perhaps from a profound disillusionment with the trappings of wealth and power. His desire to tear down the established world, even though he sits atop its financial hierarchy, could stem from a jaded perspective on the emptiness of privilege and a desire to unleash chaos simply because he possesses the means to do so. This contrast sets the stage for a fundamental ideological clash. While absolute Batman fights for a brighter future for Gotham, the absolute Joker, whether driven by traditional nihilistic chaos or a more nuanced disillusionment, represents a force actively undermining that hope. His funding of destructive elements like the party animals and his parasitic draining of life force from the innocent symbolize a direct assault on the very ideals that drive Batman's heroic endeavors in this darker universe. A significant departure from many traditional Joker origin stories is the established fact that the absolute Joker has already evolved into a psychopathic supervillain long before encountering the absolute Batman. He is described as a generational billionaire and a deadly killer even before his formal emergence as the Joker, indicating a pre-existing history of villainy that is not directly tied to an encounter with the Dark Knight. This independence suggests a different set of motivations and a more self-contained origin for his malevolence. Furthermore, the absolute Joker's formidable skills and global reach are attributed to his training with the League of Shadows assassins. He is said to have studied under and ultimately eliminated both Henri Ducard and the League itself, demonstrating a level of martial arts and strategic prowess that rivals, if not surpasses, that of Batman. This elite training provides a concrete explanation for his competence and influence, making him a physical and tactical match for Batman in a way that many traditional Joker iterations are not. This pre-existing psychopathy and specialized training suggests that the absolute Joker's motivations are not solely a reaction to Batman's existence. Instead, they likely stem from his own established twisted psychology and potentially a deep-seated disillusionment with his life of privilege. His bitterness and desire to dismantle the established order might have been brewing long before Batman's emergence in Gotham. This independence from the traditional hero-villain creation narrative makes the absolute Joker a more self-sufficient and potentially more unpredictable force of evil, driven by his own established darkness rather than solely by his relationship with Batman. In the absolute universe, the established power dynamic between Batman and the Joker is dramatically inverted, creating a unique and formidable challenge for the Dark Knight. A defining characteristic of the absolute Batman is his lack of the traditional Wayne fortune, making him an underdog operating with limited resources. Growing up in the harsh realities of Crime Alley, this Bruce Wayne relies on his own ingenuity, engineering skills, and the support of a close circle of childhood friends, rather than vast financial backing. Conversely, the absolute Joker is a figure of immense wealth and influence, a generational billionaire who possesses the kind of resources and technological advantages traditionally associated with Batman. The writer of Absolute Batman even teases that this Joker has the resources and the cave, who has the vehicles in this, further emphasizing the complete role reversal. This staggering power imbalance positions the absolute Joker as a monumental obstacle for Batman. The hero's usual strategies, often reliant on his superior technology and financial might, are rendered ineffective against an adversary who now holds those very advantages. Furthermore, the Absolute Joker's training with the League of Shadows elevates him to a level of physical and tactical competence that surpasses many traditional iterations of the character. This makes him not only a financial powerhouse, but also a formidable physical threat, capable of challenging Batman on multiple fronts. This unprecedented power imbalance, where the Joker wields both immense wealth and elite training against an underdog Batman, makes him a more significant and challenging antagonist than perhaps any other Joker iteration across the multiverse. Batman's struggle against this seemingly insurmountable foe, relying on his core skills and unwavering determination, defines the central conflict of the Absolute Batman universe. The Absolute Joker's presence in the Absolute Batman universe is not a fleeting threat, but rather a carefully constructed, long-term menace. His storyline is being deliberately built up, with subtle hints and teases woven throughout the early issues of Absolute Batman, creating a sense of anticipation for his full emergence as a major antagonist. While he made a brief cameo in the debut issue and a more significant appearance in issue number 6, the creators have indicated that the true depth of his character and his overarching plans for Gotham will not be fully revealed until later in the series, around issues number 13 or 14. This gradual unveiling suggests a complex and far-reaching vision of malevolence that extends beyond immediate acts of chaos. The horrifying revelation of his life-draining activities in issue number 6 hints at a potential long-term strategy driven by a desire for extended life, or even immortality. This pursuit could fuel his actions and influence his plans for Gotham, potentially involving further exploitation of the innocent and vulnerable. Furthermore, his command to summon Bane at the end of the first arc strongly indicates a multi-phase strategy involving a network of villains under his control. Bane's introduction suggests a potential physical confrontation with Batman, or a calculated takeover of Gotham's criminal underworld orchestrated by the Joker from the shadows. Given his immense wealth, the Absolute Joker possesses the means to systematically corrupt and control Gotham in ways that the traditional Joker could only fantasize about. He could leverage his financial power to manipulate political systems, control vital infrastructure, and exert influence over the media, bending the city to his will in a more insidious and pervasive manner. The mention of his ownership of Arc M further suggests a potential control over Gotham's criminal justice system, allowing him to manipulate the very institutions designed to contain him. The writer of Absolute Batman has even teased that the Absolute Joker will challenge Batman in ways bigger than anything we've seen before, hinting at a scale of threat and complexity that surpasses previous Joker storylines. This long-term vision of malevolence, coupled with his unique power set, positions the Absolute Joker as a truly ultimate villain with the potential to reshape Gotham in his own twisted image. The Absolute Batman universe is fundamentally defined by the pervasive influence of Darkseid's energy, creating a reality that is inherently darker, more challenging, and where heroes are often outmatched underdogs. In this world where evil holds a dominant position and heroism is a struggle against overwhelming odds, the Absolute Joker emerges not just as a reimagined villain, but as a perfect embodiment of this twisted reality. His unique characteristics, his immense wealth, chilling silence, strategic manipulation, and horrifying methods are all amplified and contextualized by the Darkseid-influenced nature of this universe. His ruthless pursuit of power and vitality through the exploitation of the innocent, particularly the life draining of infants, aligns perfectly with a universe where darkness thrives and morality is seemingly inverted. His cold and calculated demeanor, devoid of the traditional Joker's manic glee, reflects a potential absence of conventional morality in this reality shaped by a tyrannical force. Furthermore, his position as a wealthy elite oppressing a working class hero mirrors the stark power imbalances that might exist in a world subtly controlled by a being like Darkseid. The Absolute Joker's existence as a billionaire industrialist who commits monstrous acts embodies a profound corruption of societal power, a theme that resonates deeply within a universe forged by a tyrannical entity. He represents the terrifying potential for absolute power to be wielded for the most selfish and horrific ends in a world where hope is a constant struggle. In this context, the Absolute Joker is not merely an anomaly but a natural, albeit extreme, consequence of his environment. He stands as the antithesis of everything Absolute Batman strives to achieve in a world where heroism is an uphill battle against overwhelming odds. Therefore, the Absolute Joker is not just a reimagined villain, he is the ultimate villain of the Absolute Batman universe, a perfect embodiment of its dark and inverted nature. These aren't your typical comic book bad guys. Invincible delivers villains that will make you question everything. Kicking off our list, a villain who consistently catches viewers off guard, Doc Seismic. Yes, he might appear as if he stepped out of a B-movie from the golden age of cheesy sci-fi, complete with those hilariously clunky earthquake-generating gauntlets. But beneath that campy exterior lies a surprisingly potent threat. Doc Seismic has an uncanny talent for choosing the most symbolically charged battlegrounds. His debut saw him nearly toppling Invincible amidst the stoic faces of Mount Rushmore, a battle that was as visually striking as it was destructive. Then he returned with a vengeance, amplifying his powers and conjuring magma monsters to wreak havoc upon the Washington Monument. This wasn't just about wanton destruction, it was a deliberate attack on the very symbols of American power. What truly sets Doc Seismic apart is his sheer resilience and the raw, unpredictable nature of his abilities. He's not just shaking the ground, he's manipulating the planet's core, unleashing seismic forces that can level cities. And let's not forget, this is a man who casually shrugged off a plunge into a freaking volcano. That kind of survival instinct, coupled with his persistent ability to evolve and amplify his powers, makes Doc Seismic a villain who consistently defies expectations and deserves far more respect than his retro aesthetic might suggest. Okay, so we're veering into collective villain territory, but the Flaxons absolutely deserve a spot on this list. They're not a singular antagonist, but a relentless recurring threat that Invincible and the Guardians of the Globe are forced to contend with time and again. Imagine a technologically advanced alien race, armed to the teeth with weaponry far beyond Earth's capabilities, deploying legions of soldiers with a singular goal: planetary conquest. Sounds terrifying, right? Now, add a bizarre, almost comical twist. Their physiology is fundamentally incompatible with Earth's environment. The moment they step foot on our planet, their aging process accelerates to an absurd degree. We're talking about a lifespan that shrinks from decades to mere days, sometimes even hours. They literally crumble into dust as they fight. It's the ultimate use it or lose it scenario, a desperate race against time where every second counts. Picture this, a horde of battle-hardened warriors wielding cutting-edge technology, their faces contorted not just in rage, but in the agonizing awareness of their rapidly approaching demise. It's a constant, visceral reminder of the fragility of life, even for the most technologically advanced beings. This ticking clock element adds a layer of frantic desperation to their attacks, making them unpredictable and dangerously reckless. They're not just fighting to conquer, they're fighting to exist, to achieve their objective before they cease to be. Talk about a high-stakes invasion. These blue-skinned behemoths, the Reanimen, are a terrifying blend of raw power and calculated intellect, like the Hulk's angrier, more scientifically twisted cousins. They're not just muscle-bound brutes, they're walking, talking, cloning factories of destruction. Their physical attributes are staggering, incredible strength that rivals some of the most powerful beings in the Invincible universe, coupled with a near impenetrable durability. But what truly sets them apart is their unnerving ability to replicate themselves. It's a relentless, overwhelming onslaught, like fighting a Hydra where every severed head spawns two more, each just as powerful as the original. This cloning ability isn't just a gimmick, it's a strategic nightmare for any hero. They can flood battlefields, overwhelm defenses, and wear down even the most resilient opponents through sheer attrition. And to make matters worse, they're not mindless drones. These Reanimen are brilliant scientists, capable of developing and deploying advanced weaponry and technology. They're not just relying on brute force, they're strategizing, adapting, and innovating in the midst of combat. Imagine facing an enemy that can not only outmuscle you, but also outthink you and then multiply itself until you're drowning in a sea of identical, equally dangerous foes. It's a psychological and physical assault, a constant reminder that no matter how many you take down, there will always be more. It's like a nightmarish, never-ending wave of blue-skinned terror, designed to break the spirit as much as the body. They're not just fighting to win, they're fighting to exhaust, to demoralize, to make you wish you'd never crossed their path. It's brains and brawn with a heavy dose of we're going to clone ourselves until you absolutely cannot fight anymore. This villain might seem like a joke at first glance, but don't let his goofy appearance fool you. The elephant has superhuman strength and durability, making him a formidable opponent in hand-to-hand combat. He's also surprisingly cunning and resourceful, able to hold his own against some of the strongest heroes in the Invincible universe. I mean, the guy's called the Elephant. You'd think he'd be all about brute force, but he's actually got a pretty good head on his shoulders, or at least where his head should be. He's even had a redemption arc. Who knew an elephant-themed villain could have such depth? This guy is a genius level intellect with a bit of an environmentalist streak. Okay, maybe streak is an understatement. Dinosaurus is so committed to protecting the environment that he's willing to cause mass destruction and death to achieve his goals. He's like Captain Planet's evil twin brother. He can transform into a freaking dinosaur, and he's not afraid to use his powers to wreak havoc on anyone who threatens the planet. He even blew up Las Vegas to restore the Nevada desert to its original state. Talk about extreme measures. This Viltrumite warrior is the definition of a bloodthirsty warmonger. Conquest takes sadistic pleasure in conquering planets and enjoys inflicting pain on his opponents. He's incredibly strong and durable, even by Viltrumite standards, and his brutal fighting style makes him a terrifying opponent for anyone who crosses his path. This guy is like the ultimate bully, except instead of stealing your lunch money, he's conquering your planet and breaking every bone in your body. He's got a serious superiority complex and a love for violence that makes him one of the most feared Viltrumites in the galaxy. This interdimensional mastermind is like Rick Sanchez with a serious anger management problem. Angstrom Levy possesses the ability to travel between dimensions and has a vast knowledge of alternate realities. He's also a skilled manipulator and strategist, able to outsmart even the most intelligent heroes. But what really makes him dangerous is his vendetta against Invincible. After Invincible accidentally caused him to become disfigured, Levy swore revenge and has been a thorn in Invincible's side ever since. He's like that ex who just can't let go and keeps popping up at the worst possible times. Invincible's own dear old dad takes the third spot on our list. As a Viltrumite, Omni-Man possesses incredible strength, speed, and durability. He was initially Earth's greatest protector, but his true mission was to weaken the planet for a Viltrumite invasion. Talk about a family betrayal. His brutal battle against his own son left a lasting impact on Invincible and the entire world. It's like finding out your dad is secretly an alien conqueror who wants to enslave your planet. Not exactly Father of the Year material. This former hero turned villain is one of the most complex and fascinating characters in the Invincible universe. Robot, initially a member of the Teen Team, gradually revealed his ruthless and calculating nature. He possesses a genius-level intellect and a vast network of resources, allowing him to manipulate events on a global scale. His transformation from a trusted ally to a manipulative and dangerous adversary makes him one of the most compelling villains in the series. It's like watching your best friend slowly become a supervillain mastermind. Talk about a trust issue. Taking the top spot on our list is the ultimate Viltrumite powerhouse, Thrag. As the former Grand Regent of the Viltrum Empire, Thrag possesses unmatched strength, durability, and combat experience. He's a ruthless and cunning leader who will stop at nothing to achieve his goals. This guy's basically the Viltrumite version of Superman, but with a serious god complex and a penchant for violence. He's so powerful that he can take on Invincible and Omni-Man at the same time and still come out on top. Thrag's sheer power and unwavering determination make him the most formidable villain in the Invincible universe. So we've dissected the terrifying minds and devastating actions of Invincible's most formidable villains. But what if things had gone differently? What if these villains, or even Invincible himself, had taken alternate paths? If you're craving more Invincible and want to explore the mind-bending possibilities of parallel universes and what ifs, then you absolutely need to check out my previous video, Alternate Versions of Invincible. We dive deep into the fascinating realities that could have been, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Click the video on your screen now to journey into the multiverse and see Invincible like you've never seen him before. Don't just watch the villains, explore the infinite possibilities.
Welcome back, nerds. Today we are getting into the ultimate set of villains, the ones that would stop at nothing until the entire universe either falls at their feet or is completely wiped out. So let's get into it. Starting us off today, we have Annihilus. With a name like that, I mean, come on, the signs are neon. Annihilus, the insectoid warlord from the Negative Zone, is infamous in the Marvel Universe for coming way too close to destroying all of life. His most devastating campaign occurred during the Annihilation event, where he unleashed the Annihilation Wave, a massive insectoid army through a portal into the positive universe. This invasion razed worlds, decimated the Nova Corps, and left the cosmic landscape in ruins, threatening the very fabric of existence. Annihilus's ultimate ultimate goal was the total extinction of all life, driven by his obsession with immortality and his belief that only by eradicating all other beings could he ensure his own survival. He even managed to capture and weaponize Galactus, intending to use the cosmic entity's power to obliterate the universe. It was only through the combined efforts of cosmic heroes like Nova, the Silver Surfer, and the intervention of Galactus himself that Annihilus was ultimately defeated, narrowly averting universal annihilation. Coming in at number 9 is a character not really known as a villain, but she did have one of the most catastrophic crash outs the MCU has ever seen and caused a lot of pain, so I fear that she is making the list. Wanda Maximoff, known as the Scarlet Witch, is one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, possessing reality-altering abilities fueled by chaos magic. Her immense power has repeatedly brought her to the brink of destroying the universe, and one time she kind of did. During the House of M storyline, Wanda's grief and instability led her to reshape all of reality, creating an alternate world, and then, with a single phrase, "No more mutants," erasing the mutant gene from existence for nearly all mutants across the globe. This act permanently altered the fabric of reality and was so complex that even Doctor Strange warned that attempting to reverse it could unravel the entire universe. Wanda's manipulation of reality and the multiverse has threatened not just her own world, but all of existence, as her unchecked powers have the potential to cause multiversal incursions, collisions between universes that can result in mutual destruction. Her actions, often driven by trauma and loss, have made her both a feared and very tragic figure, teetering on the edge of annihilating the universe that she desperately wishes to protect. In spot 8 is Parallax. Parallax, one of the most horrifying villains in the DC universe, is the living embodiment of fear. He's so ugly and a major adversary of the Green Lantern Corps. Parallax nearly destroyed the universe during the 0-Hour Crisis in Time storyline when it possessed Hal Jordan and drove him to madness after the destruction of Coast City. Seeking to undo his pain and loss, Parallax/Hal Jordan attempted to rewrite history by absorbing vast amounts of energy and remaking the universe according to his will. This catastrophic plan resulted in the near erasure of existence itself, with billions of lives lost and reality essentially unraveling until the combined efforts of DC's greatest heroes managed to stop him and restart the universe. Parallax's immense power, capable of manipulating reality, time, and instilling fear so profound it could collapse entire civilizations, places it among the most dangerous threats ever faced by the DC multiverse. Number 7. The Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force is one of the most powerful and feared entities in the Marvel Universe, embodying both the creative spark that gave life to the cosmos and the potential to consume it entirely. Its most infamous act of near universal destruction occurred during the Dark Phoenix saga, when, bonded to Jean Grey, it was overwhelmed by its own hunger and destructive impulses. In this state, the Phoenix Force consumed the energy of an entire star, causing the star to go supernova and annihilate the planet Dabari and its billions of inhabitants, as well as threatening the stability of the surrounding star systems. The catastrophic event demonstrated that the Phoenix Force's capacity to destroy vast portions of the universe, and it required the intervention of the Shi'ar Empire and the sacrifice of Jean Grey to prevent further devastation. The Phoenix Force has repeatedly shown that when unchecked or bonded to a host that's unable to control its power, it possesses a threat not just to planets, but to the fabric of existence itself. Our number 6 is Doctor Doom. Victor Von Doom, or Doctor Doom, is one of Marvel's most complex villains, infamous for his genius-level intellect, mastery of both science and sorcery, and relentless ambition. He somehow treads the line between hero and villain despite being a massive headache to whatever true superhero is the closest. On at least one occasion, Doom's actions have nearly led to the destruction of an entire universe. Driven by jealousy and an unwillingness to accept a version of himself that was better or more noble, Doom's pride pushed him to catastrophic extremes, and he destroyed a universe rather than let go of his ego and accept his own limitations. This act was emblematic of his character. His overwhelming need to prove his superiority, especially over his rival Reed Richards, often results in consequences that threaten not just Earth, but pretty much all of reality. Doom's willingness to wield cosmic power and manipulate reality itself has repeatedly brought the Marvel Universe to the brink of annihilation, cementing his legacy as one of the most dangerous beings in existence. So I'm super excited to see what universal chaos he causes on the big screen next year. And at the halfway point, taking spot number 5 from a galaxy far, far away, we have Palpatine, so some Star Wars in here just to switch it up. Somehow, Palpatine returned. Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, take your pick, is one of the most dangerous and cunning villains in the Star Wars universe. A master of the dark side of the Force, Sidious orchestrated the fall of the Jedi Order and the rise of the Galactic Empire, manipulating galactic events from the shadows for pretty much decades. His ultimate ambition was nothing less than total domination, and at the height of his power, he came too close to destroying the universe. In Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Sidious returns with a terrifying plan to unleash the Sith fleet and take over Rey's body, threatening to annihilate all resistance and plunge the galaxy into eternal darkness. His schemes nearly succeeded, and if not for the courage and sacrifice of the Jedi and their allies, he would have extinguished hope and freedom across the cosmos, remaking the universe in his own twisted image. In spot number 4, Galactus. I mean, this one is kinda tough because I think it was later revealed that Galactus didn't want to eat all the planets, but I mean, he did eat a bunch of planets. Galen, originally a mortal from the highly advanced planet Ta in a universe that existed before the current one, became the cosmic entity known as Galactus after surviving the destruction of his reality. As his universe collapsed, he merged with the sentience of the sixth cosmos, imbued with the power cosmic. Galactus's existence is defined by an insatiable hunger that compels him to consume entire planets, a process that has repeatedly brought him to the brink of destroying the universe itself. On several occasions, Galactus's actions and the scale of his hunger have posed existential threats to all life, such as when his consumption of worlds risked destabilizing the cosmic balance, or when beings like Annihilus attempted to use Galactus as a weapon to annihilate the universe. Despite his destructive nature, Galactus is not driven by malice, but by necessity, making him a unique figure, a cosmic force whose survival is intertwined with the cycle of creation and destruction that governs the Marvel cosmos. Entering the top 3, we have the Anti-Monitor. The Anti-Monitor is one of the most intimidating threats in the DC universe, infamous for nearly annihilating all existence during the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Born in the antimatter universe, he unleashed a devastating antimatter wave, or like blast, that swept across the multiverse, erasing countless universes and ending trillions in his quest to expand his own dark realm. As he absorbed the energies of destroyed worlds, his power grew, allowing him to manipulate reality, travel through time, and even attempt to prevent the creation of the positive matter multiverse itself. The Anti-Monitor's campaign of destruction was only halted by the combined efforts of heroes and cosmic entities, culminating in a final battle where he was ultimately defeated, but not before his actions resulted in the collapse of the original multiverse and the birth of a new singular universe. His near success in erasing all of reality cements his legacy as perhaps the greatest existential threat the DC cosmos has ever faced. Our runner-up is, of course, Darkseid. Even his name makes me mad. I always want to say Darkseid, but I know that it's Side. Darkseid, the tyrannical ruler of Apocalypse and one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe, has repeatedly come close to destroying the universe in his relentless pursuit of the anti-life equation, a cosmic formula that would allow him to eliminate all free will and subjugate every living being to his will. During the events of Final Crisis, Darkseid succeeded in unleashing the anti-life equation on Earth, corrupting humanity and warping reality itself, which caused space-time around the planet to collapse and threaten the very fabric of the universe. His actions nearly resulted in the total domination and destruction of all existence, requiring the combined efforts of the Justice League, the New Gods, and other cosmic entities to stop him. Darkseid's ambition and power make him not only a threat to Earth, but a danger to the entire universe, and his ultimate goal is to reshape all of creation in his own dark image. And finally, we end with Thanos. Thanos, one of Marvel's most dangerous villains, came really close to destroying the universe, and some stories he did, through his relentless quest for the Infinity Stones. Driven by the belief that wiping out half of all life would save the cosmos from overpopulation and eventual ruin, Thanos systematically collected all 6 Infinity Stones, each representing a fundamental aspect of existence: space, time, reality, power, mind, and soul. Once he assembled the Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos unleashed its combined power in an event known as the Snap, or the Blip to those that didn't see him snap, instantly erasing half of all living beings across the universe. The act not only caused unimaginable loss and chaos, but also demonstrated Thanos' willingness to reshape reality itself to achieve what he saw as balance. Recognizing that others might try and reverse his actions, Thanos later used the stone's own power to destroy them, nearly eliminating himself in the process and ensuring that no one could undo his devastation. His actions left the universe forever changed and underscored just how close he came to total annihilation on a cosmic scale.